Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 16th, and right now we're looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. You can see the storm spinning off the coast of California. It's going to slowly move towards the coast of California, actually move up across the Pacific Northwest and be filling as it does so, but it's going to bring some precipitation, and actually some gusty east winds are going to occur with the system as well. You can imagine the winds rotating around this slow, kind of counterclockwise, and this moves up the coast. It's going to kind of give a favorable position here for some east winds to come through the Cascade, especially the gorge there for the Washington-Oregon border. We'll dive into those details. We'll take a look at the extended forecast as well, because we are going to have that powerful jet stream coming towards the west coast of North America, and some of the models are showing some pretty strong storm systems taking shots at the west coast. We still don't know exactly where those are going to make landfall, but we'll dive into some of those details as we go through the video here today. Taking a look at the winds about 2,500 feet. Here's Washington, Oregon. You can see the storm off the coast of California here, and you can kind of see that southeast flow out ahead of this low pressure system here, and kind of the southerly flow up the coastline with the easterly component that's going to redevelop here as we go through the next couple of days. And you can see that low continue to move up towards Pacific Northwest, and you can see some of these winds ripping across some of the Cascades. That easterly component is going to be continuing on. Could get some pretty interesting gusts up over 50 miles per hour, and we'll take a look at those speeds here on the NAM 3 cam. But then you can see that low kind of move up. It'll be weakening as it does so, but it is going to bring a round of precipitation for much of the Pacific Northwest. A little bit of mountain snow, not too much, but then we will turn our eyes to the Pacific storm train that will be rolling towards the west coast to the extended forecast. Looking at the European 6-hour precipitation totals, you can see there is some precip going on as we go through the day today across western BC, Vancouver Island, and that will be wrapping up as we go through this afternoon and tonight, and then we start to watch for some of this rain arriving from the south across the Oregon coast, moving up again across Vancouver Island here, and taking its sweet time, but it does move across the area eventually. It looks like maybe Monday night, Tuesday, we start to get a bit more wet here across the Pacific Northwest. And you can see some decent totals showing up for some areas. These are 6-hour precipitation running totals here, and that goes all the way through Tuesday afternoon. Now, take a look at Hoquiam, for example. You can see the latest control has 0.8 of an inch there, and some of the ensembles have up towards an inch of rain in a 24-hour period. This is last night's European run here, and then you can see the next system out here as we go towards the weekend. Take a look at Seattle-Tacoma initial system here. Actually downgraded a little bit on yesterday afternoon's European there, but it still has some decent totals. And then you can see potentially the active storm track returning to the Pacific Northwest. And then as we went through last night, it bounced back a little bit again here. So kind of a fickle system moving up, a weakening low, but it does have some good precipitation values for some of the stations. When you go a little bit further east, a little bit tougher to come by. You can see Spokane about 0.2 of an inch here, so hoping to squeeze out a little bit there. Boise, the control shows 0.4 of an inch, but you see many of the ensemble members show much less. You can see the mean is right around 0.2 of an inch there. This is Missoula, not doing too hot there as well. Hopefully we can squeeze out a little bit of precip there, and maybe a little snow for the higher terrain. Bend, Oregon, the latest has 0.2 of an inch, and the ensemble mean is somewhere right around there, so hopefully we can squeeze that out. Now, taking a wider look at things here, you can see the state of Alaska is up here. There's BC, Washington, Oregon. There's that precipitation ongoing as we go through the day today, weakening as it does so. Then the slow pressure fills and moves up over the area. You can see that spreading across Oregon, Washington, BC here. Next storm dives down towards California. And then we bring another frontal system here as we go in through later this week. It's not showing too much precipitation with that initial shot, but then a much stronger storm may be taking its aim at the Pacific Northwest here. That would be a pretty tight gradient here. But again, the models have been flipping and flopping back and forth pretty well. But let's go continue to scroll out here, and you can see the active weather potentially impacting the Pacific Northwest as we go out into the post. This is actually Christmas night right here, and you can see this very strong storm off the coastline here. Powerful gradient, a lot of precipitation associated, and we're getting some strong low pressure centers showing up in Fantasyland here. But right now we have to take that with a grain of salt, because this is a ways out. I mean, we're talking 300 hours out, but look at some of these storms. Look at that pressure gradient. That's over a 12 millibar Seattle Portland gradient. That'd be a fairly damaging windstorm, actually, if that were to verify. So this is what we'll be watching here over the next few days in the extended forecast. We do have that potential for return to some very active weather. Now, looking at the European ensemble control, this is the same map here, but we're looking at 18,000 feet here. There's that storm off the coast of California, kind of fills and moves north. The main portion of the storm next moves down into California. And we get this next system here rolling into the Pacific Northwest. A little bit of a break, but then the Gulf of Alaska low really gets cranking. Powerful jet stream is moving across the Pacific Ocean here and casting a very powerful gradient. And that brings the potential for some strong storms through the end of December. But yeah, we'll watch that as we go day by day. Now, taking a look here, this is the NAM 3 cam, hot off the presses, the 12Z run. We're looking at 2,500 feet up in the atmosphere. You can see the southerly flow out ahead of that storm over California. If I put this into motion here, you'll see that east flow develop across some of the Cascades. There we go. As we go into tomorrow morning, you can see us really start to pick up across some of the gorge, Washington, Oregon border there, across the Cascades. You can see the Stampede Gap right here. That's north of Mount Rainier. And as we scroll on into Sunday afternoon, Monday night, look at some of these winds ripping across the Cascades here. So we'll see. Sometimes these have a potential to overperform. So we might get some gusts up over 50 miles per hour for some of the gap areas with this next storm. And you can see that continue in all the way into Monday morning and pick up again there Monday morning and kind of continue on here across the Stampede Gap as we go through the day Monday. So we'll be watching out for that as well. See if they put out any wind advisories for it. Now this is looking at the GFS, and then this is last night's run versus yesterday morning's run here, and check it out. This is 10-day precipitation anomalies. So you can see how the models are really flipping and flopping back and forth on just where these storms are going to make landfall. This one last night, covers most of Northern California and some of Southwest Oregon, much more than it did the entire Pacific Northwest yesterday, but it's bound to flip and flop back and forth here. So I don't want anybody to get caught up in any of these details too far out. Although the strong storms are likely to arrive, we just don't know where they're going to set up just quite yet. Now looking at total snow 10-to-1 ratio. Let's put this into motion. And you can see this is the next storm system here. We do get a few inches across some of the higher terrain, but the European not showing that snowy of a solution. Better amounts across western BC. But as we go towards this weekend, we might get a better shot here. And then you'll see as we go through the extended period, we do have that potential to start building up some of that snowpack across the Cascades. So not all is lost. It's looking somewhat promising off through the extended forecast, but as you know, that's a ways out. Now looking at the fantasy windstorm hunt for Seattle, there are some bigger windstorms intermixed in here, and this is going to be flipping and flopping back and forth as well. Nothing has come into our short-term sight here as far as any significant windstorm. Looking at the GFS last night's run, so let's see what it has to say. You can see the storm off the coast of California. Here it goes, start to move up the coast, and it's going to bring those easterly winds with it. Bring some precipitation here as we go through the day Tuesday, and then the next storm for California. Then we look off into the extended a bit here. There goes the next main system here as we go towards the weekend, Friday night into Saturday morning. Get a bit of a break here. Then the Gulf of Alaska low starts cranking, throws some big storms into the Oregon, Northern California coastline here. And it continues to show something what the European was showing as well. Very powerful low pressure systems out there, kind of throwing some of these shots at the Pacific Northwest. But again, we have to get a little bit closer before we start to really get into some of the details with those storms. But as you've been, if you've been watching the channel over the last few days, you know this jet stream that's going to be showing up here in the models here. Nothing has changed on that front. There goes that system moving up across Pacific Northwest. There's that next storm for California here. And then we get a tiny break here, and then we come back to the weekend here, another frontal system, and then this jet stream is just fully launched across the Pacific Ocean here, and somebody's going to get some strong storms somewhere between BC and California coming up here. And at times they're showing pretty strong storms right off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. So the confidence is increasing in storm activities. We just don't have, it's not locked in on any one solution yet. But as we go all the way towards the end of December, you can continue to see this very powerful jet stream just launched across the Pacific Ocean right at the west coast of North America. Very favorable for some high-end wind events here for anybody who might get one of those strong low-pressure centers. Again, depending on your exact location, and we'll be breaking that down day by day. Here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, 8 to 14 day expecting above average all the way through the end of December. Here's the 6 to 10 day precipitation probability outlook, and this goes right up to Christmas here. But then after that, they start to bring those probabilities back up towards the end of December. And this is looking at the experimental product. I like to look at this and see how this changes day by day. You can kind of see it's favoring California a little bit here, but it did creep up further on into Oregon. This is the risk of high winds. Does include the Washington, Oregon coastline here. And check it out. They got this moderate out here for some of California and Southwest Oregon. Also, risk of heavy snow. This could easily be introduced further north in upcoming model runs as well. And taking a look at the precipitation departure from average. This is what I've been showing the last couple of days here, but this is a yearly running total here. Actually, this is 12 months, December 15th, 2022 to December 14th. And you can see we're running a pretty heavy deficit here as far as precipitation is concerned across a lot of western Washington and Oregon. And if you look at the 6 month, we're also dealing with that as well. Those across some portions like Mount St. Helens down there, that we are above average. And this is the last month here. You can still see, even with that rain, we still have some deficit running on across western Washington and Oregon. And as you can see, California as well. But anyway, yeah, we'll continue to break these down. I mean, it's looking favorable. I don't want to get caught up in any one solution just yet, but they're definitely looking like some stronger storms will be forming off the coast as we go through the later portion of December here, and we'll just continue to watch that day by day. But we do have a couple systems here. This one for starters, then one moves to California, and then we bring a system probably in through the weekend. The GFS and the European are starting to come into agreement on that system, so we'll start to break that down a little bit more here as we go on to the next couple of days. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good morning. I'm going to try to get the drone out there. Maybe there'll be some lenticular clouds on Mount Rainier this morning. Maybe we'll get some nice sunset or some nice video or a time lapse out there. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.